Okay, this video is going to take you through the process of imaging your screen, or some people call it burning your screen, where you take your image that you've designed and get it on your emulsion screen. So at this point you've applied a liquid emulsion that's going to act like a stencil. Now you need to get your image onto the stencil. So to do that, you need to have your image printed on this translucent paper, and this is going to be the image that I use today for our example. And you'll use this table that's going to allow you to register or align your image properly on the screen. Okay? So to do that, you're going to begin by taping your image. So you look at your image so it reads correctly, and put tape so that it sticks up. So see how the sticky side is on the top part there? So you're going to tape it, and just kind of two corners is going to be fine. Really, you just need enough tape to hold it on the screen as you transfer it from this table over to our imaging unit. So as you look at this table, you can identify there's a lot of different lines and stuff going on. It looks a little complicated, but you can see the outside bar where it says frame. That's where your frame's going to go, and then there's a stop at the top and then two stops on the left that are going to act as like little bumps for your screen. So you push it, when you set your screen on there, you align your screen using these stops. Now to get your image on there aligned, you're going to center your image. Okay, so there's a center line here. If you have registration marks that are centered from your printed copy, you can use those. It's really easy. If you don't have those registration marks, let's say you're just doing a single color, you can measure the width of your design, divide by 2, that'll find your halfway point, and then center your design on there. You can also use these squares, the little dotted lines on there, as a way to kind of center your design as well. If you've got a pocket square, you want a pocket square, there's a little pocket square dotted line over here that gives you an indicator as to where that should be aligned. So I'm going to center this, and your design should be about 4 fingers from your neckline. So if you look at the neckline on a t-shirt, you can put your finger there. That's going to be about 3.5 inches from your neckline to the start of your design, and that's pretty standard. Between 3 and 4 inches, design should come down from the neckline. So there's a mark here on the table. It's a little dark line. That dark line is going to be where your design should start. Now it's gonna vary a little bit depending on your design. Okay, this design is only 3, maybe 3.5 inches tall. This can go a little lower on a shirt than a design like this, where it's 15 or 16 inches tall. So it kind of depends on the design as to where this should be placed. So if you have questions about that, see me. But a good indicator, a good rule of thumb, is use this line here that gives you about 3.5 inches from the neckline to align your screen. The more accurate you are with placing this, the less work you have to do out on the press when you align the screen to your printing plate. So now that you have this in place, that tape is sticky side up. The frame goes on. Then you find your tape, push down, and that's going to stick this in place. I want to take just a second to explain the process a little bit here. You've got your screen coated in this blue emulsion. Now emulsion comes in many different colors, different types. This emulsion in particular is blue, but they're not always. What we're doing here in this next process is we're exposing this emulsion to light. All right. It is light sensitive, so you'll notice that we're working under orange lights back here. that blocks out the wavelengths of light that expose this emulsion. And so what we're doing here in this process is we're going to shine light. Essentially, we're shining light at this screen. So where we shine light is going to cure the emulsion. Where the light is blocked is going to be uncured emulsion. So in these the black areas of your design here, that's going to block the light from hitting your emulsion. That'll be uncured emulsion. So after this process, we're going to look at the screen. It's not going to look any different, but you're going to have areas of cured emulsion and uncured emulsion. So on this particular unit, controls here on the front, turn the power on. Then this bar here, this bar moves forward and backwards. So I'm pushing it that way to lock it and pull it towards me to unlock it. So I pull it towards me, unlock it, you can lift it up. It doesn't have a gas shock on it to hold it in place, so you gotta do it two-handed or have a friend help you. Hold this lid up, place your screen with the stencil side down, because the light bulb, I don't know if you can see that, the light bulb down in there, that halogen light, is going to shine up. It has to hit that stencil before it hits your emulsion. So if you were to put your screen in like this, think to yourself, where's that light going to hit? It's going to hit that whole part of the emulsion, all right, on the opposite side, because the light's coming from the bottom. So your stencil has to be in between, this printout has to be in between the light and your emulsion. So kind of center your, you can see this red square, center your screen in that red square, close the lid, push forward to lock it in place, and then you can hit over here on the control panel the start button. So when you hit the start button, you'll see the vacuum gauge work its way up. What that's doing is it's sucking all the air out of this top. That ensures that your printout, that translucent paper and your emulsion are nice and tight together, so that there's no light leakage. Okay, light waves spread. So if there's a gap between your image and your emulsion, the edges won't come out right. So you want to make sure it's nice and flat. There you can see it's kind of sucked all that air out, creates a vacuum in there. Then over on the side here, you'll see when the light turns on. So you'll kind of see it around the edges. There you can see a little bit the light coming on and exposing that screen. So the whole process takes, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds, the vacuum and the exposure. So our exposure is complete. You can see down here it says EC on the screen. That means exposure complete. If you're going to do another screen immediately after that, you can't hit the start button again. It doesn't do anything. You have to hit the reset button where it comes back to 9 units. Then you can hit start to process your second screen. Okay. So again, to release my screen, I pull this bar towards me, lift the lid, remove my screen, and you can see it doesn't look like anything happened to the screen. So after I've removed my screen from that exposure unit, imaging unit, I'm going to walk back here to the washout sink, and I'm going to use the garden hose to spray water on this screen. And you're going to see that the cured areas of emulsion are going to stay in the screen. The uncured areas of emulsion where that light blocked the, where your printout blocked the light from hitting that emulsion, you got those uncured areas. That's going to wash out when you hit it with water. So here we are back at the spray out booth. Take my recently exposed screen. I'm going to spray it out with the garden hose using the garden, does it say garden? The garden setting. Just a light pressure, not using the jet setting. As I spray this screen, you want to make sure you're spraying the whole part of the emulsion, not just where your image is. So you're spraying the whole thing. And as soon as you spray it, you should be able to see your design kind of show up. Real faintly in the screen, you can see where my design is starting to show up. Notice I'm spraying the flat side of the screen first. You want to spray this side for, I don't know, a minute, minute and a half. Once you get it wet, you can kind of let it sit for maybe a minute. You don't want to let it dry out, but if you let it sit for a minute, that emulsion is going to kind of soak in some of that water. It's going to break out of the screen a little easier. You don't have to just sit here and spray it constantly. So spray it, let it sit for a minute, then you can spray it constantly after that. So here you can start to see the design opening up, those holes in the screen opening up. Right in this area, you can see those holes are opening up, that emulsion's coming out. So at this point, now that you've been spraying the back side of the screen, you can flip the screen over and spray the other side of the screen until your design is completely washed out. Now that your screen is completely washed out, you can see there's no emulsion left in that screen mesh. Check it real close. Check all these areas where the emulsion should be removed. Also make sure if you have registration marks, like you see right here, this registration mark, if you have those, make sure those are washed out really well. And at this point, my general recommendation is keep spraying for about another minute. Okay, it's good insurance that you have all that emulsion removed. So when you get to this point, continue to spray for about another minute. Then you can take your screen out of the sink and put it over on a rack over here. Put it on one of those racks to dry. If you're in a hurry, you can put it on the bottom of a rack that has a fan on it. So the rack closest to the sink should have a fan at the bottom. Make sure the fan is on and blowing. You can turn that on. That'll help air dry that screen quicker. Again, it shouldn't be one that you put in that blue dryer down there in the end, the little short guy. That is for wet emulsion only, not wet screens. So if you're just looking to air dry your screen with after spraying it out with water, it should go on one of these metal racks here.